Hey, what's going on, man?
Curtis, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Where you at? Are you in BC right now?
Yeah, I'm back at home with my family in Poco.
Yeah,
Doing our thing.
yeah. The flow's coming in nicely. I see the quarantine haircuts aren't hurting you too much.
Yeah, this flow's it's pretty much cemented in my look. I've had it for like 5 years ish. So yeah,
Yeah,
going.
yeah. I don't know if you remember. You probably don't remember because I was only on the prospects for about 5 seconds before you had to leave when Ray Brown was booting everybody off the squad, and
No,
I was one of the late additions.
yeah, it was quick though. Like I remember playing with you, and yeah, for sure the name rings a bell, but it was definitely quick because I got hurt that summer. So yeah, it was a short stint.
Yeah, yeah. Real quick to touch on just to start, I wanted to kind of start at the beginning. So I got corrected on one of our posts today. Coquitlam Little League wanted to make sure that I noted that you were an alumni, and then you moved on to the Reds,
Hmm.
right? So you graduated 2013. I know that was about my age group, so I know like some of the names. But for anybody who doesn't know, who are some notable names from that period?
Probably the biggest was O'Neill. I think he was the same draft class as me. But yeah, my senior year, he was like never there really. I think he played in like the games and hit like 30 games, hit like 15 homers. Yeah, it was impressive. But him, my age, and then Boosh, who you interviewed the other day, was also my draft class, and like Lachlan Fontaine was my age, I think, and yeah, I think that's the core of the group.
Yeah, that was. I remember that was a good BC group because we got dusted by them when I was on Team Alberta at Canada Cup and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you commit to go to UBC. You did all 3 years there, and like I said before, you did your freshman summer with the Prospects, and then your sophomore summer with the Falcons, and you got drafted your junior summer. And
Hmm.
one thing that I really like as I was looking into in preparation for this is I saw that I think a lot of people say that you have to go to the States. You have to go to the States, but you never did that. And you got drafted, fourth round. So I kind of wanted to just like ask your perspective on how like quality Canada baseball is in terms of getting you noticed.
Yeah, no doubt. There's like my big thing is if you're good, like they're gonna find you regardless of where you play. Like there's no way of hiding a guy who's a really really good talent. But when I was growing up, I went to camps at UBC. Like growing up, just kind of learning the games like, from like 10 to 15 years old, and I never like pro ball was obviously like I would have loved to do it, but growing up in high school, it was never like a realistic opportunity. I kind of like I was just gonna play baseball as long as I could, and UBC with the school there when I got an offer from them, like I kind of shut down my search. Like that was the spot for me, and I wasn't like a supremely talented high school guy. Like I was good, but I didn't throw hard. Like I was like 83, 84 my senior year, and yeah, UBC was like a great spot for me, a great fit, and yeah, as soon as they gave me an offer, I signed up and locked it in to play being a T-Bird.
Right. So what
Mhm.
kind of stuff did you do to climb from 83 to 97?
There was a lot of it. Honestly, I grew like 3 inches my freshman year, so I was still like growing into my body, and then the coaching staff there was unreal. Sean Corness was a pitching coach my first 2 years and helped me a lot just with my delivery and stuff. And then the biggest thing I think was just being on a solid weights program for me. I didn't really work out in high school, and then I finally kind of got in the gym on a regular basis and grew into my body, and the velo came just with all that stuff.
Are you much of a weighted ball guy? Did you do any of that?
Yeah, I did drive. Like me and my buddy did Driveline our sophomore year. We kind of did it under the radar. We'd like sneak into our batting cage and throw like all the weighted balls and do that programs at night. And the next year we came out like both of us gained a few miles per hour, and then the coaches kind of started asking questions about like what we did, and we did, yeah, we told them what we did, Driveline weighted ball program. And the next year the next spring or next fall they brought Cal Body and like the whole crew down, and they kind of introduced the whole thing to our whole pitching staff. So yeah, we just did our own thing, and the program kind of adopted it from there.
Did you find that difficult to like balance doing the low key underground drive line work with like your regular pitching work?
It was kind of, we did it in like October, November, and fall ball's pretty much done then, so we didn't have a ton of throwing. it was kind of our downtime, and we just were like, we've heard this stuff gives guys a few miles per hour. Why not give it a shot? And it paid off. For the team out team was Tyler Gillies, who's now with the Brewers. So yeah, just add him in there.
2 for 2.
Yeah, exactly.
How much did you feel playing summer ball helped you in terms of just A, getting innings, B, like, I mean, I know the Wimble is okay. It's definitely not the West Coast League, but facing like those higher end hitters, how much do you feel that helped you with your development?
Yeah, for sure. The West Coast League was kind of one of the things I had circled, like going through my draft process, that playing in the NAIA, like it's a good league, but a lot of the hitters like don't get valued that much. Like there was one guy who hit like 450 and 25 home runs and didn't get drafted. So they don't really, sometimes scouts kind of discount that league for the quality of play. So going and playing the West Coast League against primarily Division I guys, I thought was a big key to my draft stock, and going there and I pitched pretty well. I think I had like a mid-2 ERA. So going there and pitching against high competition definitely got me ready for the next level.
Yeah. Do you remember any guys from that West Coast League that are getting up there in the rankings?
I faced Nick Madrigal when he he was just finished high school. So he was going into his freshman year. That team's really good. Him and Caden Grenier, I think they both went to Oregon State. So I think those are the two big names. Yeah.
Yeah, Madrigal he's pretty legit. He's a pretty high prospect right now. Hey.
Yeah, he's no joke.
Yeah. So you were always a strikeout guy, you know, going back from your college days to even into your professional career, and your approach as a pitcher, like, are you looking for strikeouts? Because I feel like you couldn't be doing all that by accident.
Yeah, I like a lot of coaches kind of say pitch to contact, but I don't know, that never really sunk in for me. Like striking a guy out's the best feeling. So like if there's a spot to try and strike somebody out, I'll definitely attack it that way. Plus my stuff kind of plays up as a strikeout pitcher. I'm not a ground ball guy. Like I throw a fastball with a decent amount of carry and a slider. So pitching down in the zone is kind of counterproductive for me. So I've especially the last couple of years in pro ball, I've learned to pretty much exclusively pitch up in the strike zone with my fastball, and that's led to a lot of swings and misses.
So you're saying to the coach, hey man, I'm trying to pitch a contact, but they're not touching it.
I don't know about that, but yeah, I like striking guys out, no doubt.
So yeah, you said the last couple of years you've been pitching. I know that's a Rays thing. Is that something that you picked up while you're in the pen with the Rays?
Yeah, they were the biggest analytics team that I've ever played for, and they pretty much, my first spring there, their pitching coordinator Dewey came to me and said, with your fastball, we want you to pretty much pitch exclusively up in the strike zone, and that led to my best year I've had in pro ball. So yeah, it definitely helped.
So what's your arsenal right now?
Just fastball, slider.
Just 2 pitches.
Yeah, I had a changeup, but it was just like a wasted pitch. Like it wasn't good whenever I threw it in the games. I missed arm side. So I just kind of decided to stop wasting throws on it, like even in bullpens and in flat grounds. And I just kind of banged it. So until I really struggle, I'm probably just going to try and go with those 2 pitches and make them as good as they can be.
Yeah, that's actually something I wanted to ask about. So there's a lot of kids, and I mean, I've caught a ton of kids who are like, yeah, I have 5 pitches and 3 different fastballs. And like, so would you say, like, depending on the pitcher, of course, but if you have like 2 or 3 good ones, just keep pounding on those?
Yeah, that's especially as a reliever. When I started, I started my first year in pro ball, and the changeup was definitely necessary, because when you come through the second and third time in an order, like guys can sit on one of them pretty much, and they're going to get one through the whole at bat. So as a starter, I'd definitely try and work on a few pitches, but out of the pen, you don't face guys more than once unless you're a long man. And 2 pitches for me, if you can execute them and consistently throw them both for strikes and balls, I think that's a pretty good recipe for success.
Yeah, that's something that Braden Boucher was kind of touching on as well, is in the pen, you're able to kind of just focus on your strengths and what you do well. And is that the same for you?
Yeah. The only time I would change is if a hitter's strengths are better than your strengths. Like I faced a few guys in pro ball who like really excel at hitting the high fastball, and I was like, oh, whatever, I'm gonna try and beat them with it, and like I got burned a few times. So you kind of got to weather the storm. If there's like a plus hitter at the plate, maybe try and stay away from his weaknesses, but for the most part, definitely attack your strengths.
So how do you kind of like switch up on the fly? Because I know in the minors, like there's preparation, but it's kind of more internal preparation, like what you're doing to help you do your best job. But there's not a whole lot. Is there a whole lot of scouting reports for guys across the league?
In the Rays were really good in that regard. I can't really speak on the Jays. I haven't played for them yet, but the Rays gave you pretty much a full write up of hitters and their weaknesses and whatnot. And most of the recipe is the same. Like for my report was fastballs above the strike zone, sliders below to get them out. But there are a few exceptions where they know a guy has a supreme strength at a certain pitch, and those are the guys you kind of just got to be careful for.
Right. Is that do the Rays kind of evaluate players based on how well they can process that information and use it?
Not really. It's really a personal like feel for some guys. Some guys like I like looking at it. I like knowing what I'm facing, and then some guys just will completely wash it, let the catcher call the game, and just focus on their pitches.
Right. Mm-hmm. I want to backtrack a little bit because there was a question that Justin Orton, I know you guys are friends, he asked me to ask you, and he said, what's your favorite non-baseball memory while you're at UBC?
My favorite non-baseball memory? I gotta say it was going to the Roxy after we won our first time. That was a good time. It was a blast, and yeah, the boys were all buzzing. Of course, we just won at home our conference tournament, and it was one of the best nights that I had at UBC for sure.
Yeah. So you said that you guys were kind of I guess you could call you guys the pioneers in terms of bringing Driveline and bringing that kind of analytical approach, because UBC is very heavy onto like that technological approach and doing those kind of things to help players. Do you take pride in that?
Yeah, for sure, no doubt. My junior year, me, Gillies, the guy who I was sneaking into the facility with, and Alex Webb lived together, and Anthony Casati, and our apartment was pretty just like focused on ways to get better and kind of analytics thing. Webby's a big analytics guy. He loves reading about that stuff, and yeah, we kind of would talk about it like at our apartment and at the field, and kind of just ingrain that culture in the program.
Yeah, he's going for his master's in that, isn't he?
He is, yeah. Guy's much smarter than I am for sure. Yeah.
Hey, you UBC guys, you guys are all smart though, and that's got to help you guys on the ball field as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the culture at UBC while you were there, because you guys were great. You guys had a lot of very competitive runs. You guys were always in the conversation once you got to that NAIA championship. And I'm just curious, like from your freshman year to your junior year, right before you got drafted, like how did you instill that? How did you kind of emulate that, or whoever was at the top when you got to the bottom? Like how was that culture created and continued?
Yeah, the senior class when I was there, my first year and even my sophomore year, the older guys were great. Like Connor Lillis White, Cam Firth, a few guys like those guys, Kevin Byro, were just I just followed what they did really to a T. You know, they set the roadmap for what it takes to be successful in that division, and I just kind of followed that my 3 years there, and my junior year pretty much just tried to emulate what they did. Also, Terry McKeag, being the running that program, did a really good job, kind of just being strict and regimented and expecting certain things from us in our day-to-day routines. And yeah, it was kind of already in place there when I showed up, and I just kind of tried to follow it throughout my 3 years.
Yeah, I was talking to Brent LaValle, and he's the new manager for the Canadians. He just came in from LSUS, and he was talking about culture in terms of like the more you talk about the buy-in, the less you get the buy-in. So I think what you're saying there about how everybody just pulling their own weight, pulling their own kind of cord in the right direction for the team brings everybody else up.
Yeah.
So when you got to your junior year, was that kind of easy for everybody to, once they got in, like, okay, this is how things are done here?
Yeah, no doubt. Like we would have team meetings, pretty much, or players only meetings every Monday, and like we just kind of followed that tradition. It was just kind of like a good time to get together without the coaches and kind of bond as a team. And then we did a lot of stuff around campus that like as a unit, you know, like TAC, which is like what the athletes committee would like throw get-togethers on the weekends and whatnot, and we'd always show up and have good times there together, and it was just a great team atmosphere with that program there.
Right. Mm-hmm. So when you're moving towards the draft in June, What was like that junior season? Did you kind of know you were going to get drafted, and it was just a matter of how high?
Yeah, my junior year, I knew it kind of clicked in when I was in my sophomore year. We were playing at LC, and that was the first game. I was like 95, 96 that game, and that was the first time I was like the next day, our coach Terry came up to me and just kind of talked about the possibilities of next year the draft being a real opportunity, and yeah, the whole junior year, I knew that I was going to get drafted, so I knew that I was kind of just pitching for my stock like on a day-to-day basis, and yeah, I definitely knew, and it was a stressful process, but the guys around me were super helpful, trying to ease the stress, and just trying to win games was the biggest focus, and when that's your goal in mind, usually the rest kind of falls into place.
So would you say that it's like a different kind of stress than like, say, someone who's on the cusp and they're like, man, I really want to get drafted, versus somebody who's fighting for how high they can go?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think the biggest stress for that person would be on draft day, because like on day 3, not knowing if you're going to get drafted would be a miserable day. Like for me, starting day 2 was the most stressful day I've ever done. Like waking up that morning, I was freaking out. It was extremely stressful. So yeah, definitely the draft day would be the biggest difference for a guy who knows you can get drafted towards kind of a cusp guy.
Right. Where were you on draft day? Did you take your mind off, go fishing, or were you sitting on the couch waiting for your phone to ring?
I was at home watching the ticker locked in. Yeah, UBC kind of, because we had 4 guys get drafted that year, so they kind of made a big deal out of it. They sent like a camera crew over to my house, and when I got picked, there was my parents. There's a really good picture of me and my parents. They're like jumping off the ground after I get picked. It was a really special day.
You got that framed?
Yeah, it's beside my bed. Yeah.
That's great. Where was your first stop after you signed?
Hillsboro, Oregon, in the Northwest League.
Oh yeah. Did you ever get a chance to pitch at Nat Bailey?
Did not, no, because my visa took about a month and a half to go through, so I never had the chance to pitch at the Nat. But yeah, playing at Hillsboro was awesome. It's a great place. It's like 15 minutes outside of Oregon or Portland, and yeah, it was one of the best places I've played so far.
Did you get to play against the Canadians?
Yeah, I did. They came down and saw us. Yeah.
So how surreal was that for you, being on the mound facing the Canadians, when you're like, man, I watched these guys my whole life?
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really, it didn't really sink in until kind of the Canadian national anthem started playing. That was really cool. I was like, dang, this is fun playing against these guys that, yeah, I went and watched them play my whole life. My dad is a huge baseball guy and would always take me out to the Nat.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay, that was 2016, right, where you were with the Hops. Let's walk through kind of your process. I know you got traded from Arizona to Tampa after the 2017 season, right?
Yeah.
Right. Now, I know you got traded like for Boxberger, right? Like, I don't think you were a player to be named later. Like, they were like, no, we want Curtis Taylor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So I feel like everybody in professional baseball, like unless you're like Derek Jeter, gets traded at some point. So it's almost like, here you go. Here's your professional baseball card. You're finally traded. Like, congratulations. Yeah. But what did that feel like to you for them to be like, yeah, we like wanted you, man?
Yeah. Well, the first part, like, I feel like this for most guys is you kind of focus on the team not wanting you. So honestly, when you first get traded, it kind of sucks for the most part, because you don't really think about it. Like, it's a possibility, but like you think that's your team. Like, those are your boys. You kind of came up with them I only played with those guys for a year and a half, but like Arizona felt like family for me. It was my first stop, and yeah, to get traded it was an interesting experience, and yeah, I was a little like every guy I've talked to traded for the first time. Like, I cried the first time I got traded. Like, it was pretty emotional, but going to Tampa, and they were a great fit for me. Their pitching development is the best I've been a part of, and yeah, I'm pretty grateful for the move, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know that from a pitching standpoint, especially, like, Tampa Bay is one of the more frontline. I mean, you look at some of their, bullpen guys. I wanted to kind of ask, like, you went from being a starter in college to being a reliever in professional baseball after your first year, but how was that transition for you, kind of relearning how to warm up, like the mind frame of just going out there and like just shoving it down people's throats when you're throwing? Like, how different was it?
Honestly, I was pretty accustomed to it. I relieved my first 2 years at UBC and then started my third year. So I was still getting the grasp of starting at a high level when I was with the the D-backs and honestly just never panned out. I went back to the pen, and that's definitely where I feel more comfortable, just going out there for 1 or 2 innings and kind of just letting it eat and throwing
Right.
as hard as I can is what I like to do when I'm out there. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Right. Okay. Here's a hypothetical. Would you rather get like a nice 6-out save where you like 6 Ks all swinging, so you're just blowing it by guys, or would you rather like a complete game, like 6-hit, 1-run outing as a starting pitcher?
Um, like one game hypotheticals, probably the CG would be nice because you kind of single-handedly went out there and got the win. But
Yeah.
career-wise, relieving's more fun. Just going out there and blowing it out for a couple innings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does a day in the life of a professional baseball reliever look like?
And during the season,
Yeah.
it's pretty lax. We go out there and just wake up. I'm a big sleep-in guy, so I'll probably get up around 11-ish. That might be a little. My teammates might razz me for that one, but well, just wake up at 11. Grab some cold brew on the way to the field. I usually try and get there like an hour and a half, 2 hours before stretch, just to hang out and get changed slowly, and then go to the field, do our warm up. About 3 o'clock, if there's a 7 o'clock game, stretch, throw, check BP, and then just a lot of downtime. Like it's amazing how much downtime you have as a reliever. So like you stretch at 3, and then pretty much you're done. If you're a back end guy like I've been, you stretch, you're done at about 3:30, and then you pitch at like 9 o'clock. It's about 6 hours to kill. So there's a lot of downtime, a lot of cards, a lot of just talking with the boys.
Are you one of the guys that like sits in the clubhouse and waits for the 6th to roll around, or do you go out to the pen?
Everybody goes out at the beginning of the game. It's kind of dependent on you, what you want to do after that. If you got the older guys, like we had some guys with Showtime in AA, they would go watch the anthem and then spend almost the whole game in the locker room until it was their time. So it depends where you're at. Also, where out in Montgomery, it was about 95 degrees every day with like 100% humidity. So you try and spend as little time outside as possible as a reliever. So yeah, I'm a big clubhouse guy.
Yeah, it's the nicest hats in the minor leagues though, the Biscuits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a fun team name.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, like, I know that you kind of stick to your approach, but mentally, like, what is your approach as a reliever when you're walking? Like, you say you got a 3-out save you got to get, and you're going in there, you're facing 3, 4, 5. Like, what kind of like I was talking to Rowan Wick, and he was talking about the jog from the bullpen to the mound, and like the mind frame that he gets himself in. And I'm curious, like, what is the closer mind frame?
I just go out there, and from pitch one, I just like think attack. Like you don't want to walk guys. That's the biggest thing that kills me is like a leadoff walk is just the worst thing you could do. So I just try and attack hitters from pitch one. Like don't like even if it's 3, 4, 5, don't pitch scared. You gotta just execute your pitch. That's all you can control as a pitcher is pick the spot, and that's usually pick the spot and throw a ball as hard as you can is kind of the focus that I try and think of. I try to keep things external. I don't think about my movements too much when I'm on the mound. So that stuff should already be ironed out and take care of itself. So I just just try and pick a spot and throw as hard as I can.
Do you ever like if you're struggling or you've had a bit of a rough patch in terms of finding your spots, do you ever like catch yourself going into that conscious mind frame where you're like, man, I got to get my arm off, I got to get my stride going, and how do you kind of get out of that?
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy thing to do. Some days you just feel like you don't know what your body's doing. You feel so out of whack, but you just try and like the biggest thing for me, I just try and take a deep breath sometimes and try and focus back in on the target and just go from there. Don't try and get too focused on what your body's doing. Just keep everything external.
Right. Mm-hmm. Do you ever kind of you mentioned before that you adjust like your location or whatever, like you're a high fastball and then spin the slider. And you said if you got a guy that like crushes high fastballs, like if you're practicing throwing that high fastball all the time, how do you kind of mid-game change that up to like, okay, I got to start working away, or I got to bust this guy like inside and get him away from my slider kind of thing?
Yeah, you practice those too. Like I don't like in the bullpen. I don't only throw high fastballs, but you just kind of work as you can. If the guy's guy hammers the high fastball, you just change your approach. Just don't try and feed in his strengths too much.
Right. Are you a future Team Canada guy? Do you want to do like a WBC or Olympics?
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna play for them in Arizona this spring for the Olympic qualifier, but Corona put a wrench in those plans. But yeah, so I'm definitely on the radar, and that's definitely one of the goals of mine, I think. But I think the WBC just got postponed too, if I'm not correct. So hopefully it happens soon, but there's no guarantees, obviously.
Yeah. Would you be number 37? Should I go buy Team Canada 37 right now?
That's my number if I can get it. So for sure, hopefully it's not taken yet by someone who's got a little more service time than me. But yeah.
Yeah. Are you a guy that would want to do that like 5 or 6 times, or like would you rather just kind of go do it one time and then focus on your career?
As long as it fit into my schedule, I'd always love to play for my country. I wouldn't want to turn them down. Turn down as little as I could if it didn't delay my development or my career. I would definitely always be ready to play for them.
All right. So you got to keep an eye out, people. You got to keep an eye out. We got Curtis Taylor coming out of the pen. He's a 9th inning guy.
Do it.
You and Rowan Wick back to back. We got a setup guy, both BC boys. We got it locked down.
Yeah, that'd be dirty.
I know that you kind of ran into a little bit of injury trouble this past year with your elbow. And I was just talking to Bush. He had gone through, and I know it's kind of the elephant in the room. It's not fun to talk about, but like the TJ conversation. Was that something that the team was kind of like, hey, do you want to try it, or like we want to keep you away from this as much as possible?
Yeah, it was. So my trade story with the Rays and the Jays was really weird. So I was with the Rays rehabbing my elbow. I sprained my UCL in June, I think, somewhere around there. And so I was rehabbing. I got a PRP injection, took a bunch of time off, and I started throwing again. And then in September, or like late August, I started getting off a mound, and then I kind of started getting sore again, and the Rays shut me down for a week, and then they ended up sending us home at the end of the GCL season. They just send rehab guys home for a week, and then they were going to come back and finish my rehab. And before I left, they talked about it, like, we'll take this week off, hopefully rest, and it comes back, and hopefully it feels better. And if it doesn't feel any better, then we're probably going to get TJ. And then during the time I was home, I got traded. So it was I was like, it was such a weird time to get traded during my rehab process. But I went to the Jays, and their rehab staff was unreal. They helped me get back to throwing pain-free, and I finished my rehab there, got off a mound a couple of times, was kind of back to myself, and went home for the off season and came back this spring, and everything was feeling good. So knock on wood, hopefully we hang on and everything stays healthy.
Yeah. Hey, that's another notable trade. Eric Sogard, he hit like 300 last year. Like, so you're 2 for 2 on getting traded for dudes that are like impact players in the show right now.
Yeah.
That's a good feeling. So I wanted to ask you about that as well. Like, I know that you're a Yankees fan growing up, but I think, and I'm a Mariners fan, so like, but I think we all kind of have like that little bit of Blue Jay in us. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when you got that phone call where they're like, hey, like the Blue Jays just traded for you. You're coming over. You're going to potentially pitch in Rogers Center one day where it's going to say, this guy's Canadian. It's got the little maple leaf on the board. Like, what kind of feelings does that give you, having like your major league debut could be in front of 40,000 Canadians with Vlad Jr. at third base?
Yeah, I totally feel what you're talking about, where I have a little bit of Jays in you. Like, I never would say I rooted for the Jays, but like growing up, they're always on TV, so it's kind of like you always are following what they're doing, and I didn't realize like how cool it was, and like I got traded, got the call, and I was like, oh, that's sweet. Like Toronto's a nicer place to play than Tampa, so that's a positive.
Yeah.
Start with, but and then I didn't realize like how big of a deal it was until like I probably got triple the amount of like congratulatory texts I did from just people compared to when I got traded to the Rays from when I got traded to the Blue Jays, because obviously people they care a lot more and they got a bigger following. So yeah, when I didn't realize how big of a deal it was, but when it went through and kind of sunk out, I was like, actually, this is really cool that I get to play for a Canadian team.
Yeah. It kind of seems like you're coming right on time too, right? Like, yeah, they're about to kind of start that wave. Like, they've gone through the rebuild. A couple years from now, they're going to be looking like they're pretty competitive, but also I think they had like a glaring need for pitching, right? So you coming in, like, you're the guy that they were like, hey, we need some pitching. How about we got a Canadian kid who's chucking 98 with a nasty slider? Let's bring him in. Like, do you like, what does it motivate you to kind of like one day I'm going to be on the mound at Rogers Center?
Yeah, it's super exciting, especially when they have a young core like that coming up the ranks and they're kind of solidifying themselves as potential superstars. You know, to have the opportunity to be able to hopefully join that somewhere in the near future would be a lot of fun playing in Toronto. And I remember when they were making those runs back in 2015, 16, 17, like the whole country kind of gets behind them as a team. So to be a part of that potentially and hopefully play for that team and compete for a World Series would be so much fun.
Yeah. So you've gotten a chance to meet a couple of your teammates with Toronto, right?
I haven't met many of the big league guys, but yeah, I know a bunch of the minor league guys so far. Yeah.
Yeah. Any guys that you're already like, oh yeah, I'm clicking with this guy. This is my boy.
Sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know him very well growing up, like playing in high school, but yeah, we got there and we were both rehabbing. We hit it off pretty good. Now we're roommates and joined at the hip. I've been called Boosh like 3 times there.
Only because you guys are Canadian, all of a sudden you're the same guy.
Yeah, exactly. He had longer hair too when I first.
Oh, okay.
We looked pretty much the same. Yeah.
Yeah. He had a little bit of a different pathway to where you guys are now versus you. Like and that's kind of what I was talking about before. Like he went to the States and he kind of did it that way, whereas you stayed in Canada. Like, do you have anything to say to like 18, 17-year-olds right now that are like, man, I kind of want to break the bank and go to the States right now. Like, I need to go to that D2 or that D1. I need to go and get seen. Like you said before, like if you're good enough, you'll get seen. But is there anything else?
I would say just whatever is the best fit for you. You know, some guys aren't big on school, and like that was one of the things that I held super close and my family valued was going and getting a good education while I was playing baseball, because baseball was kind of on the back burner when I was deciding where to go. But like if baseball is your thing and that's what you want to pursue wholeheartedly, you can definitely do that at home in Canada. But some guys who don't value the school or just don't think that's what is for them. Like JUCO, I think is definitely a great option. You know, go there, get seen, play really good competition for sure. But there's definitely a lot of opportunity to play at home in our backyard, and obviously get drafted pretty high if the tools are there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just got a couple questions that I like to ask everybody. One of the big ones is like, we got COVID right now, obviously. A lot of people are struggling. Like, what are you doing to kind of keep yourself going?
Lucky enough, I got, my dad's a part owner of a training facility, so I got access to a place that I can go and work out at. So lucky enough for me, it's a pretty easy fix. I just throw into a cage by myself and get my lifts in. But yeah, I was just, whatever you can, you know, hitting off a tee, throwing into a screen, just like working out, body weight workouts, push-ups, stuff like that, just as much as you can to just stay in shape and not lose all the strength gains and the skill gains that you have.
Yeah. Are you, what about off the field? Are you a reader? Are you a movie guy, a video game guy?
Yeah, I wish I read more. I don't do it as much as I could, but I've been really getting into FIFA recently. Grinding on that, and yeah, I watch a ton of movies as well. So yeah, those two things are my deal.
Do you guys usually have the PlayStation in the clubhouse?
We did my first year in Hillsboro. Guys would get into it, no doubt. But I think I might bring one next time we're back in an affiliate.
You got like the Latin guys playing FIFA against you, and you're like, yeah, $20 a game right here.
Yeah, for sure. Those guys, they're pretty good. There's some deadly FIFA players, no doubt.
Yeah. Another one. You got to where you are going a specific path. Not everybody kind of goes like the same path that you did. You know, especially in baseball, like there's crazy paths that people go on. Like Scott Richmond was talking, and he had an unbelievable path. You've had a different path than everybody else that I've talked to. What kind of advice do you have for like a 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid that's like, they're starting to figure out like, hey, maybe baseball could be a possibility in the future?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is be patient. You know, like I bloomed. I didn't grow into my body and become the baseball player I was until I was like 20 years old, was when I kind of like fully matured myself. So I would say if you love the game and if you can, just like stick with it, just keep playing as long as you can, because you never know when you're gonna like reach your full potential. It could be when you're 16, it could be when you're 20, like me. So if you love it and you can keep playing as long as you can, like the opportunities will still be there, and hopefully it can possibly turn into a pro career for you. So if you love the game, just keep playing it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you went from 83 in grade 12 to 95 2 years later.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. So, and like you said, like you worked hard to get there, though. It wasn't just like an automatic thing.
Mm-hmm.
You were doing things on your own that, you took a risk, because Driveline can be risky for some guys, especially if they're not doing like the second half of what Driveline is. Everybody thinks that Driveline is, oh, I'm going to go chuck a weighted ball a couple times, but I don't think people really understand the other side of that, like the prehab, rehab, the work that you have to put in to strengthen your body. And it sounds like obviously you were able to do that if you were able to jump as many miles per hour as you did. Is there anything else that you kind of want to leave with us or with kids, like any words of advice or encouragement or anything like that?
I just have fun, enjoy playing the game, because like if you don't enjoy it and enjoy your time like with your friends, then you're not going to get as much out of it. You're not going to have success. You're not going to want to play it. So if it's for you, just stick with it, keep playing, and have fun when you're out there with all your buddies.
All right. And right now, you know what? We're all about fun. Okay. No one's got anything serious going on right now. So go have some fun.
For sure.
All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate your time. Thank you for hopping on with us. This was really great. Very informative. Real quick before you go, what Ray Brown memory do you have?
Ray Brown memory do I have? His chatter from the third base box was second to none. He just would always be talking to you, and what did he do? He would whistle, right, all the time, or he had like a little whistle.
He would say like "hum babe, hum babe."
Yeah.
He would say, "Here we go, Spilly Man." I remember Spilly Man.
Top shelf chatter. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. He's slugging it out over in Fort Mac nowadays in the Wimble.
Is he? He's coaching up there now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What a character.
All right, man. I'm happy that I get to share some Ray Brown memories with a future Toronto Blue Jay.
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks for the call, Luke.
All right, man. Have a good one. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for hopping on with us.
No problem. Take care.
You as well.
Later.